Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the community conversation. I'm Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee, and tonight our panel is focused on the 30th anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act, the ADA Act, 30th anniversary, and that was signed into law in 1990 and then amended again in 2009, and it focuses on, the equal opportunities for for people who are living with certain disabilities. And we have some unbelievable guests that I've been reading about today that we're going to bring right on to get into a conversation about, this particular issue and the impact that the COVID-19 is having on the disability issues, but also the broader sense in terms of what it means to the state of Rhode Island and the leadership that is being provided by many people in the state to make sure that our friends who are disabled in any form have the same rights as anyone else in the state of Rhode Island. And we're privileged tonight to have. I know Congressman Langevin is going to join us, and his story is certainly not a secret, or it's well known to all of us. And what a fantastic leader Congressman Langevin has been as a U.S. Congressman for 20 years, and we're so fortunate to have him as a leader. Our office really relies on the congressman, and we're looking forward to him serving many more years. And hopefully his health continues, and he's able to continue to function in a way that's been just spectacular for the state of Rhode Island. So, Tina Pedersen, and she's involved with RAMP, and she's going to share her story as well. And Officer Michael Matracia, who is again another remarkable story of courage in terms of maintaining a great contribution as a police officer in Providence for 28 years. And then Bob Cooper, who is the Executive Secretary of the Governor's Commission on Disabilities. So without any further ado, Ben, please, let's bring on Congressman. Welcome. Good to see you here. And Tina, thank you. Yeah, Congressman, great to see you. And you're on a very distinguished panel, and you make it more distinguished than if you weren't there. So thank you so much for being here, Congressman.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I hope you can hear me okay.
I can hear you very well. And tonight we'll be talking with many of our leaders that are working on issues that impact the communities that are disabled in the state of Rhode Island and beyond. Tina, thank you for being here, Tina Pedersen, and of course Michael, Officer Matracia, thank you for being here, and Bob, as your function as the secretary, executive secretary of the Governor's Disability Commission. What I'd like to do is, if it would be okay, I'd like to have you just kind of introduce yourselves to the people that are watching right now. Thank you for everybody who's listening in. Those who are going to see this live, and also those who are going to watch this, over the week, on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for listening in, and you can provide any questions that you want. Our office is always available to questions during this COVID-19 virus, pandemic, and also beyond that. So you can certainly let us know about questions, and we'll be asking our panel any of the questions that you have, and then those that we can't answer, we'll sure to get back to you. Congressman Langevin, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your story and why this is such an important issue to you.
Well, good evening, Lieutenant Governor McKee. I want to thank you, first of all, for hosting this event and having me on with the other distinguished panelists that you have this evening, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. We are just coming off, as you know, the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, celebrating that on Sunday, and it was great to be with Tina and Michael. We had a celebration, inaugural event that night as well, to talk about the importance of the ADA, and I'm glad you're continuing the effort here to raise awareness. So thank you. I remember vividly what the ADA meant to me when it was passed, because I was injured 10 years before ADA was brought up as a piece of legislation and then passed through the Congress. But I was injured in 1980, as many may know, at an accidental gunshot wound when I was shot and paralyzed as a young police cadet. And I remembered, wondering then what my life was going to be like, and how I would make a life for myself. And although I was, I continued to go through school and dream new dreams when being in law enforcement wasn't possible. I remember that there were many doors that were closed, many opportunities that just weren't open. And I remember graduating from high school and excited about going to Providence College, having graduated from Bishop Hendricken. That was kind of a natural progression to go to PC. But I remember that though I was accepted at PC and Rhode Island College, going to tour the campus, it became readily apparent that there was just no way that I was really going to be able to navigate through PC independently on my own. And so I wanted to go into Rhode Island College as the alternative. And although I had I had a wonderful experience at Rhode Island College and I thrived there, I realized that in the future, because of ADA, some young person will be able to choose their academic program not based on what's accessible, but they'll be able to choose what their their academic interests are. So anyway, I just say that I know that I probably would not be in Congress today. It's very likelihood if ADA had not passed. I'm honored to be serving in Congress and representing Rhode Island's 2nd Congressional District. But I know that I sit, and many of us stand or sit on the shoulders of giants who made the ADA possible. And for me, it really hit home and culminated in a real pinnacle in many ways 5 years ago on the 25th anniversary of the ADA, when I was able to preside over the U.S. House of Representatives as Speaker Pro Tem on that 25th anniversary of the American Disabilities Act. So we're going strong, celebrating now 30 years and many more to come. Our work is not yet done.
No, it's not. And Congressman, you may have been honored to, be the pro tem on that 25th anniversary, but we're very proud to have you there representing Rhode Island.
Thank you.
Yes. Tina, give us just an introduction, Pedersen, of your story and why this issue is important to you as well. And then we want to get into many of the things that you're working on as the executive director of RAMP. But yeah, please share with the people who are watching and those who are going to be listening to this program your story and why this issue of the 30th anniversary, strikes home to you as well.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for attending and being part of this today, and thank you for having me. My story is kind of unique to everybody else's. I'm a 4-time cancer survivor who 6 years ago walked into a very minor 10-minute surgery, and I took a stroke to my spinal cord and on the table and woke up with no feeling or use of my legs. So I kind of got thrown right into the disabled community. I knew there were barriers, but I didn't realize how bad they were until I had to navigate the world in my wheelchair. So it was a choice of either rolling a ball and cry about it or do something about it. So because I love life, I decided to do something about it. And that's when I started RAMP, and we advocate and educate for accessibility and inclusion for everybody. And we break barriers. And the first barrier we break is we charge for nothing that we do. We will come out and access your businesses. We will talk at your schools. We will talk at conferences. We just want to raise as much positive awareness for accessibility and inclusion for everybody.
Yeah, so Tina, thank you for that leadership. And we're going to try to get in a good conversation over the hour that we have here to really address some of the specific initiatives that you're involved in, along with the red bag program that you have going on, right? So,
yes,
Mike, yes, okay, Michael, please introduce yourself. Certainly you have something in common with the congressman. Having a love for police work and your community police work is something extraordinary. But your story is extraordinary in itself. So please share that as we, start to get into this discussion about the 30th anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, Congressman, Tina, everyone else. Hello. Yeah, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1998. So I got sworn in as a Providence policeman in 1990. So as the years went by, 1998, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And as time went on, I was losing the ability to perform. So I had to go to a motorized wheelchair in 2004. So, it was dramatic, dramatic change from being an able-bodied officer to a person, an officer that had to use a wheelchair. Luckily, because of the ADA, I was able to continue my career another 15 years to support for my family. So the ADA was dramatic in the fact that I was able to continue my work, and luckily we were on a large department, so they were able to find some things for me to do. And just recently, May of 2018, I became the ADA coordinator for the City of Providence Police Department.
Yeah, Mike. So, we're going to certainly dig in deeper, but, that's an understatement that they found things for you to do, with the committees and the different boards that you're on. Just share a couple of those boards that you're involved in right now, Mike.
Sure. One of the boards that I'm on that I really am into a lot is the Rhode Island Developmental Disability Council. And they believe that people with developmental disabilities should fully participate in community life. Men, women, children should be able to enjoy family life. Children and adolescents should go to school, like the congressman wanted to go to college. Adults should work. It should have decent homes, have friends, and live independently as possible. So the Rhode Island Developmental Disability Council is engaged in a lot of different programs, which I love. I love the programs that they're involved in. It gave me another whole view of what the disability world is besides physical disabilities. The Rhode Island Developmental RICAT, which is an assistive technology board, which also helps fortunate with assistant technology, so they can speak, so they can hear, so they can do virtual meetings like this. The MS Dream Center, Accessible Rhode Island, MS Dream Center focuses on multiple sclerosis issues, different ways to navigate to that MS world. ARI is like what Tina does with RAMP, is we try to make things accessible for businesses and things. But another organization that I've been working closely with is Open Doors, which is a reentry program. Incarcerated individuals get to re-enter into the society, second chance type thing. And one of the last one is OSTIC, which is Ocean State Trauma Informed Care. And we're really focusing on trauma now. What causes individuals to keep having issues in the community? That's their trauma that they never answered to.
Yeah, I could have went over that list, but I wanted you to kind of share that because you have such a personal touch to it, Mike. But that's extraordinary work that you're involved in, and I know that you've been recognized for that work. So thank you for being here tonight. Bob Cooper, please introduce yourself if you can to our audience and give us a little overview of why this American for Disabilities with Disabilities Act, the anniversary, strikes home for you as well. We seem to be having a little bit of difficulty with Bob, Ben. So, yeah, we might have to have him come back in, but I know all three of us, the Congressman and Tina and Michael, your perspective on things is not unique, but it certainly gives you a perspective of, a life before and a life after, right? And, but Mike, I know I've read a little bit that you were you played a little basketball, so there was a life before and a life after, and you've made the most out of, both sides. But give us like the thought that you have, Congressman, of what it is that we should be, advocating for, and as political leaders, community leaders, as we all are, what should be the things that we should have on our radar screen right now?
Sure. Well, first of all, again, as I've said and others have said, that the ADA has opened up so many doors and brought down countless barriers for people with disabilities to live a full life in their community, and made sure that we're achieving the dream of an inclusive society.
Yes.
But there's still more work to be done. Our work is not yet completed. Too often people with disabilities are still unemployed. probably double the national average for those people that are able to work and want to work. And so we have work to do in terms of helping people with disabilities get jobs. But also we need to make sure that that we have accessible transportation options for people with disabilities, and affordable, accessible housing as the other one. So employment, transportation, and making sure that we created enough affordable, accessible housing for people with disabilities are the three top line things.
Yeah, I think that's really right on target, Congressman. And I always kind of let people know that if I haven't lived in the life that other people have lived, I don't claim to understand. But I did have one of my very best friends, who actually taught me how to play tennis after I got out of college. I got into a serious car accident, spent the last 25 years of his life in a wheelchair as a quadriplegic. So, his struggles became mine, and his housing struggles became mine, as well as other transportation issues and that type of thing. So this thing strikes home to the families in particular that are impacted, Congressman, right? In a way that unless you see it or you experience it, it's not really clear to you.
That's right, and the world can change on a dime for anyone. You never know when your life could change in such a way that you join the community of those that are disabled. And some have said before that for able-bodied people, where you're maybe temporarily able-bodied, because at some point in our lives, everyone may experience a disability in some way, shape, or form, especially as people get older and health issues creep up. You just never know. In an accident, it could be old age. It could be born at birth with a disability. So it really is incumbent upon all of us to try to find ways to, again, continue to remove those barriers and open up those doors of opportunity.
Yeah, and my message is that the contributions that can be made by people who are disabled is remarkable. All the guests here tonight are representative of that, and I know the friend that I'm referring to as well. So I'll share one of my favorite personal stories before this broadcast is over, in terms of like where there's a will, there's a way, and Peter, my friend Peter, was that way, right? So, and I think most people, people who are up to the challenge like you are, have things to share. So thank you, Congressman, for being here again. Tina, give us a little idea of the things that RAMP and are is advocating for as front and center issues today as we go into the 31st year of the Disability Act being passed.
Yeah. RAMP is doing so much. I also am the vice chair of the Governor's Commission on Disability, as well as the chair of the Awareness Committee for Disability. I just think that it's so important to let people know that don't count the disabled community out. We'll show them how we have to work twice as hard just to be taken seriously for the most part. So when we do something that we're actually recognized for, it's because we've gone 10 times over and above everybody else. But we can do everything everybody else does. And, like everybody said, anybody can end up in this community at any given point. Let's make sure that the world is accessible for when you get to that point. But RAMP, we go out and we do roll-throughs through businesses because nobody is inaccessible maliciously or purposely. They just don't know because they don't have somebody in this community where they thought about that. They just don't think about it. So when you go into a business and you say, hey, your front step is just one step. How about if I got you a ramp for like $200 that you can move and we can start the process of becoming ADA compliant? They for $200, I could start the process. And I'm like, yeah, as soon as you say ADA compliant, they shut right down because they think you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars, where they could take small steps to start the process and realize how worth it is to let more and more people into your businesses, because it's only going to help your bottom line in the long run.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you made, Tina, is that some of the things that we're talking about are not really costly, but they require awareness, and RAMP is providing that awareness. I think that is so important. Tell us some of the things that you've been able to do, with RAMP to help, not only with awareness, but also help, figure, as I know you're into colleges, you're going into schools, you're providing a great deal of information. Just go over that, share that a little bit, please.
Yeah, we do so much. Like I said, we've touched over 170 businesses in our first year. Because RAMP is only a little over a year old. We've touched over 170 businesses to start the process for them to become ADA compliant. We have been into elementary schools because we're usually the first interaction with the disabled community. So we show the kids of what we can and can't do. I actually get on the floor with them and they play "What do you think I can't do it" from a wheelchair, and I roll around the floor with them and can get everything done like they do. We also started the Red Bag Initiative, as you saw earlier. Here's my little red bag.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's what I want to talk about.
It keeps all of your medical information on you at all times, and it's non-tech based. So I've actually spoken to 5,000 first responders, and this has now been picked up by Rhode Island Emergency Management and FEMA.
Well, we'll get back. Is that the dog in the background on your?
Yeah. Yeah. I apologize.
Go to silence, and we'll get back to you though. But that's the live broadcast, right? That's the live broadcast. The people know that we're being very loud. But Tina, we'll get back to you for sure on that, because I want to hear about that Red Bag program. Mike, tell us why, what the advocacy in your mind today is. Certainly we can talk about the things that have been accomplished, but the things that we're advocating for today, continuous advocacy, and the role that you play in that, Mike, as a police officer in Providence, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. What we're doing in the city of Providence is we're really attacking the autism world. We're trying to come up with ideas where when an officer responds to a home, he will be able to identify by a symbol in the house of some sort, a sticker on the fridge, or something that will identify that there's an issue at that home. So before the officer gets to the scene, he already knows what he's going to be confronted with. And we've done numerous trainings on the autism spectrum. We've also we trained all our guys on the autistic spectrum, which is very costly, as you know. And that's one of the things we're focusing on, mental illness. And we're teaming up with the Rhode Island Developmental Disability Council and OSTIC to get that going forward, because we're trying to make our officers be one step ahead of the issue before they get there, so they can rectify it and go in with an open mind. So that's one of the things we're doing. And there's so many, like I said, we do tours in the building. When the kids see an officer in a wheelchair rolling around the building doing the tour for them, they're just blown away, and they're like, "How do you do this?" I said, "Well, I'm fortunate because we have a large department, but also I've been lucky, because it's not all about, like I said, physical scene elements. It's people that you don't see that are challenged in a certain way. Like people will say, why is that guy parked in the handicap spot? Well, he might have an issue that you don't see. And so we're just trying to make the community knowledgeable of what is happening out in the streets. So training is a big key, and we're working on legislative bills to have more training put in place for officers. So those are some things that we're working on.
Yeah, I think the training is a real important key, that education that both Tina and the Congressman talked about. And that's what we're trying to do here tonight. So if you're listening and you have questions that you want answered because, you have a family member or yourself has a disability, or just you want to be a community advocate on behalf of what you're hearing tonight, make sure you contact our office at 222-2371. We certainly will steer you in the right direction and get you information that you want. Bob, how are we doing right now? Are we plugged in pretty good? Because if we are, I'd love to have you introduce yourself, and just like we did at the top of the show, and then we'll certainly give you an opportunity for the advocacy that you're involved in right now. So Bob, welcome. Nope, that's not going to work. We're going to have to get Bob back probably.
If Bob can
Lieutenant Governor, can I mention the Congressman mentioned the other day when we were chatting about a bill about the housing Congressman. Tina brought up housing, and the lieutenant governor likes that idea, and I like the idea as well. And the congressman mentioned the bill that he's pushing through the Congress to help businesses with monies to pay for different ways of making their building accessible.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. So the act would double the tax credit that's available for renovations. So right now it's there's a couple of bills. That's the tax credit one is one. The other one is a bill I'm co-sponsored with Representative Jan Schakowsky from Illinois, and it's the Inclusive Home Design Act, which would basically require new single-family homes and townhouses that are receiving federal funds to include at least one accessible zero-step entrance, accessible home and doors that are wider clearance and at least one wheelchair accessible bathroom on the main floor, as well as electrical and climate control at accessible heights. So that's one on the housing, but on the broader issue of the issue of accessibility, and we talk about to get into basically to help small businesses, but also it helps the disability community. This one was introduced by Congressman Don McKee and I. It's called the Disabled Access Credit Act, and would basically double the amount of the tax credit that renovations would cost to make a place more accessible. So two bills that I'm proud to co-sponsor would help, again, move the ball forward for people with disabilities.
Great. And Congressman, is that going to get hearings, and is that going to be something
that's what the hope is right now? COVID is really dominating everything right now.
Sure.
Almost. But it's a bill that I'm co-sponsoring, and we're always looking to get more and more co-sponsors. The magic number is 218. The closer you can get to that, that's majority, and that gets the leadership's attention. So we're getting closer. I'm not sure the exact total number that's on it right now, but we've got steady momentum on it, and a lot of my colleagues are very supportive.
Yeah, so that's great. We'll follow up with your office with Seth and others to get the bill numbers so that we can be advocating for that.
One thing I wanted to mention, if I could, Lieutenant Governor.
Yes.
Is the issue of Tina made the point, and it's really a point one to reinforce about sometimes you think about making something accessible that it's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. The key phrasing in the Americans with Disabilities Act is reasonable accommodations, and so the idea is the whole focus is not to force a business or a homeowner to have to spend exorbitant amounts of money to make something accessible. It's about reasonable accommodations. So there's any number of ways that can be achieved, and there's funds available in terms of renovation tax credits that exist right now. We want to do that to make that even more generous, so that it makes it more feasible for a business owner, for example, to be able to renovate a location so that it does become compliant.
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to be advocating for right now, Congressman. Continually building on the work that's already this happened prior to now, but you got to continue to be looking forward, and that's on new construction you're talking about.
That's right.
Yes, good. Tina, how we doing?
They were good a whole second ago.
As soon as they hear my voice, there's a problem there, I guess. As soon as you hear my voice. So, all right, Tina. As soon as they hear my voice, they're getting engaged. So,
Lieutenant Governor, I was wondering if is it possible that Bob Cooper could call in on a phone line? Is that possible? If we're not able to hear him, because I know that Bob's been around the disability community as a leader for a long time.
Yeah, we really want to get him on this. Ben, what do you suggest?
Commission on Disabilities. And
let me go to Ben here and get his suggestion on, because we've had this happen before to Director Yan when he was on. Ben, do you have any ideas of how we could bring in Bob
Yeah,
at this point in time?
So Bob, I don't know what's happening with your internet signal, but I'm going to call you in a second, and I will try to get you on through my phone. So
My
give me a minute.
my daughter has settled down for a second. So, no, I have a fire truck right outside my door. So they see the fire truck, they're service dogs. They think that they're coming here for me. So they're a little confused right now.
Yeah, well, Ben will try to get Bob on, Congressman. Thank you for, and he's been pretty creative, and we'll give Bob certainly amount of time. We've got another 25 minutes to go here. But yeah, Tina, you were going to tell us about the programs that you have at RAMP, and one in the particular one, which I was reading about today, is explain what the red bag program is all about.
What the red bag does is it carries all of your medical information on you at all times, and it's non-tech based. So it has a little clip on it, so you can clip it on your thing or put it in your pocketbook, or I clip mine right on my wheelchair. I'd actually spoken to 5,000 first responders over Zoom, and Rhode Island Emergency Management and FEMA have now picked up our red bag from September that we launched this. And now it is a global initiative. We send these bags out all over the country. So you just tell people, instead of telling them all of your information, you just tell them I'm a red bag carrier. If you have to call the rescue, make sure my red bag is with me. So it works for everybody, whether you're in the disabled community or not. It works for everybody. And only ones who see it are the EMTs and the doctors. So you don't have to give out all of your medical information to anybody, and you have it with you at all times.
So, Tina, if someone wanted to, join RAMP or wanted to help you in RAMP, how would they contact you?
They can reach out to our Facebook page, RAMP Real Access Motivates Progress, or our website, www.rampisinclusion.com. You can go on and you can purchase a red bag, and we don't make any money on the red bags. We sell them for $3, but for every bag that we sell, we replenish and we donate one to the veterans, to the homeless, to anybody who can't afford a bag. I've actually sat out when we did community meals for the homeless, and I've actually filled out their bags for them. So that way, when they're out on the streets, they have all of their medical information, or the people that we can contact, or, some way of getting in touch with somebody. So it works for everybody. It's such a great initiative. And we have over, I want to say, 20,000 bags out there in the world right now.
Great. Well, and that's something not only is good in Rhode Island, but people who are outside of Rhode Island
are national at this point, and FEMA picked it up, so now it's global.
Is that right? Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're good. Thank you for that leadership. And, we encourage people that live in Rhode Island or listen to this to really contact and reach out to Tina. And if you're not able to find a way to it, just call our office, 222-2371. I wanted the Congressman mention the fact that we've got some things on hold because of the virus, because of the pandemic. Do you want to just weigh in on how this, there's affected communities, that we know are affected by the virus in a disproportionate way, and give us a thought about how, how this is working with the disabilities, certainly mental health issues that Mike was talking about. But Mike, you want to weigh in on, with the challenges that the disability community has as a result of the COVID-19 virus? And then I'll go to the Congressman and to Tina, and then hopefully Bob will be able to join us.
Sure. One of the things that I'm finding is very intrusive is the inclusion that these folks are dealing with. Like I said, we're doing everything virtual. The Rhode Island Developmental Disability Council, RICAT, MS Dream Center, also everything's being done virtual, which is great. We're still able to get our voice out there, still able to talk to our clients. But one thing that we don't realize is these folks are locked down and they're used to routines. They're busy people. And this is really affecting that world. So one good thing is virtual, is what we're doing right now, virtual meetings.
Yep.
This is so powerful, but it's not enough. It's hard to get everything going again. We will at some point, but what we're doing, we're just keeping the ball rolling, because once the COVID is gone, we want to just jump back into what we were doing. Because last year we had so much momentum in all of these programs, and everything came to a screeching halt in March. So we want to get that ball and just keep it rolling as best we can while we're dealing with this illness.
Yeah, so Congressman, you mentioned how, the legislation that you're working on, and Mike's alluding to the fact that, our General Assembly has come to a screeching halt because of the attention that we're paying to trying to keep us healthy. By the way, this is my time to tell you, wear your mask, wash your hands, and make sure we social distance. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to reopen our economy or reopen our world the way that is being, and take advantage of some of the initiatives that are even being discussed tonight. Congressman, tell us what impact it's having on the disability community.
So obviously, it's a reminder that this virus is a cruel virus, and that it attacks the most vulnerable. It seems most often. And so obviously, the elderly most at risk, but people with compromised immune systems or health conditions, myself included, right? With having my breathing compromised as well as having asthma. For me, it's too risky for me to get out of a plane right now. So I've been driving back and forth to Washington. It's anywhere between an 8 and a 9 hour drive, depending on traffic. But
wow,
you got to do what we have to do to make sure that Rhode Island's vote is represented in Washington. So, but the other challenge is, remember that where everyone is supposed to be social distancing, and that's certainly what's happening with me. That we're all trying to stay at home, stay away from crowds, wear your mask if you do need to go out, especially if you can't social distance. But remember, this is an important reminder to check on your friends and neighbors or relatives that with a disability, or if it's a senior and people can't get out of their homes. If you know of someone that you can reach out to, please reach out and ask. If do they need anything at the store? Do they need anything picked up at the pharmacy? That can go a long way toward helping someone to maintain their independence. Because if they don't have anyone to call on, what do? How do they get food? How do they get medicine? So check in your friends and neighbors.
Yeah, thanks for that advice, Congressman. Ben, are we any closer to helping Bob get connected? Or?
Yep, Bob, can you talk? And LG, if you can hear him?
Yes. Hello, Lieutenant Governor.
Oh, hi,
Hello,
Bob. Thank you so much for being persistent. That's what, this world is definitely the world of disabilities is very persistent. So, Bob, welcome. Let's give you a couple minutes, as the Congressman is advocated for, to kind of, let's introduce yourself and to our audience. And then I'll ask you a few questions that I'm asking our other guests, and you'll get caught up before we're, the next 10 minutes or so let's spend with you. And please introduce yourself, and thank you for being here.
Okay, Bob Cooper. I've been at this business of advocating for folks with disabilities since, I think it was 1978. The congressman may remember that when he was a delegate to the Constitutional Convention, part of my job was to ensure that we became the second state to put a disability rights provision in our Constitution.
Yeah, that's right. I said Bob's been around for a long time.
Well, then Congressman, intervene anytime you want to interject yourself with Bob. Please feel free.
Well, but Bob was advocating for people with disabilities long before it was popular, or long before we even thought of an American Disabilities Act. And I remember Bob when he was chairing the Governor's Commission on Employment of People with Disabilities. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob. I think it was Governor Garricky that appointed you to that position.
Yeah, I was employed during Governor Garrity's time. I ended up, in terms of the ADA, I ended up on the White House lawn when President Bush signed the ADA as one of the invitees for having worked with the folks in Washington on earlier drafts. I'd say probably our biggest stumbling block is still the fact that only 3 out of every 10 working age adults with disabilities are employed. And that was before COVID-19. It's worse now.
Yep, that's That's right, and I've often I talked about that earlier, Bob. I don't know if you could hear, but if you're still there, I mentioned how the unemployment rate for people with disabilities is still too high. You compare that to the national average, and I've often said that people with disabilities are our nation's greatest untapped resource. And if we can find a way to expand the number of people with disabilities in the workforce, you think of all the intellectual brain power that we can include in our society and make benefit society. So it's just so important.
Yeah, in fact, when you think about the fact that we've been advocating for telecommuting for a lot of folks with severe disabilities, and we've always had pushback from employers, maybe finally they're going to get the message.
Yeah, I think so, because everybody's working from home now, it seems, and this is a hopefully maybe there's one silver lining. I'm the eternal optimist, and so hopefully this shows employers that, you know, if obviously their rank and file employees can work from home, people with disabilities who transportation is often a major barrier for people with disabilities, that being able to actually get to work because they don't have enough accessible transportation. You know, this is an opportunity to expand those employment opportunities now for people with disabilities, and potentially they can just work from home.
Mhm.
I don't know whether I'm back on or not, but
You are.
this is
We
the
have
night.
you.
I am. Oh, good.
You are back on.
We were covering for you, Lieutenant Governor.
Well, I sent Ben a note, said the congressman is in charge. He's perfectly capable of. He runs committees in the U.S. Congress. I think he could run this until I get back on. So I don't even know.
You know the old saying: you give a politician a mic, he's never back of things to say.
Well, my mic I think is low, but so I'm going to try to figure this out as we go along here. But anyways,
You're okay.
yeah,
okay.
Bob, please continue. Now you're going to have to bring me up to date on what you just talked about a little bit. But we're looking at, what are the things that you're advocating for now, Bob?
Well, one of the big things that actually you can help us with is getting the state to finally pass legislation to assist small business owners who happen to have a disability be able to get contracts with the state. We've got legislation in, but we've never been able to get it through the House. Small businesses owned by people with disabilities across the country actually have a higher percentage of small businesses owned by folks with disabilities than folks without. But Rhode Island seems to be one of the places that still has a lot more barriers to getting and supporting and maintaining small businesses run by folks with disabilities. And I know you've had a very strong interest in the small business community.
Absolutely. And Bob, tell us, give us a little bit more, a couple more comments on what you're trying to get done there and how that compares to what might be happening in other states that they might be doing better by their, small business owners who are disabled.
Well, so far we've actually had in place a law to provide assistance to small businesses owned by folks with disabilities, but we keep running across a barrier from the Department of Administration saying, well, this word needs to be changed in the law or that word needs to be changed. So we can certainly use in much of the country, at least 8% of adults with disabilities run their own business. Rhode Island, it's about a lot lower than that. And of course, these days with COVID-19, it's really sticking it to small businesses and not just those with disabilities.
Yeah. So Bob, you and I should talk, right? So that we can hear a little bit more about that. And certainly in the time frame, that I have advocated very strongly to get some of the federal dollars for the COVID-19 dollars out in grants to the small businesses. And I know the governor has come on with $50 million of help, so hopefully the disabled business owners out there are going to be able to benefit from that. My goal was to get $125 million out for, to help 10,000 businesses in the state of Rhode Island, and whether they're minority, disability, or non-minority businesses, they all are struggling right now. We need to help them. So, do you know whether or not there are small businesses that you know of that our office might be able to help direct them? Because those grants are going to become available through application on Monday, and there's some training that's going to go on over the next couple days. But it's a first come, first serve, and that the demand is going to far exceed the supply on that. So hopefully we'll be able to do something, short term. The other thing is that we've started a coalition, Bob, of small businesses, a Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. There's several thousand businesses in that, and they're going to become strong advocates for all our small businesses, regardless of, where they live or where they come from, or potentially the challenges that they have. So I really encourage us to make sure we reach out to you so that we can include the businesses you're referring to into that coalition.
Good. Well, I'll be certainly back in touch with your office tomorrow, and we can start getting the ball rolling. As you said, it's first come, first serve. And maybe the Congress can help tweak the next relief package, so there's also more of an emphasis on small businesses owned by folks with disabilities. Because for a lot of folks with disabilities, having run against a barrier getting employed in larger companies, the default position has now become, well, I'll become my own company.
Well, that's a segment that we're interested in everything that's being discussed tonight, but that's a segment that our office should, I chair the Small Business Advocacy Council. The next lieutenant governor will as well. The next lieutenant governor after that will as well. So this is something that should be in our office's wheelhouse, during the time I'm here and beyond. So, Bob, I look forward to discussing that. What are some of the other things, Bob, that you're advocating for right now in today's world, outside the COVID, but thinking down the road of the things that we need to be really focused on?
Well, I think one of the issues is as society has moved more and more online, is ensuring we're inclusive, that video and other things include communications with folks who are deaf, including interpreters or captioning, making sure that information that may be put up on a screen is done in a manner in which folks who are blind can plug in and get an audio channel. Again, as we move more and more things online, we have to make sure we're inclusive in terms of getting our messages out. And I think that's one of the next big hurdles. And I know from dealing with folks in the deaf community, one of their greatest fears is becoming the next George Floyd, because they don't hear some order and get shot.
Yeah. Well, Bob, and for those who are, we got it on the screen that your name, Bob, but you're also the executive secretary of the Governor's Commission on Disabilities. And as the Congressman said, you've been involved in that work dating back to Governor Garrahy and before that. So thank you so much for your leadership. I want to give everybody, we're kind of getting down to the hour right now, but I wanted to give everybody kind of their last comments, and also how, the ask, or, to the Rhode Island community and beyond, the ask to help, people with the disabilities, and also, continue to work. So we build on that act that was passed 30 years ago and amended, I think, in 2009. These things can be amended, right, Congressman? These acts can be amended to meet the time frame that we're living in. And so give us your last thoughts on this, Congressman. And again, thank you for being here.
Sure. So Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, one of the bills that I was proud to work on as a member of Congress was the ADA Amendments Act. So this is almost 20 years after the ADA had been enacted. It had been weakened by different court challenges and issues that came up over the years. And so Congressman Steny Hoyer, who was our majority leader, and I, and Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner on the Republican side, and many of my colleagues got together and put forward the ADA Amendments Act that clarified the original intent of the ADA and strengthened it once again. And that was passed with the Congress, signed into law. I was proud to be in the Oval Office with President George W. Bush and his father, who was there for the ceremony, signing ceremony, when he signed that into law. So yeah, the ADA can still be amended and strengthened. We need to continue to do that. As I mentioned, the issues of accessible transportation, accessible affordable housing, and providing job opportunities have to be our focus. And one issue I'll mention, I'll put on your radar, Governor. I was contacted by a constituent, and this is more of a state issue, but the Rhode Island Livable Home Modification Grant that we have here in Rhode Island, which has been a wonderful program, has according to the folks that brought this to my attention, has helped thousands of Rhode Islanders over the past several years modify their homes with a 50% reimbursement provided by a state grant. Many people don't know about this grant, from what I understand, but when people get educated about it, they realize that this is available. It's certainly something that people should take advantage of if they need to have their home modified. But I understand that grant may be expiring this year, and we need to get that grant renewed. So hopefully we can all join together and see that grant does get renewed. But the fight continues. We have our work cut out for us. But if we can lower the unemployment rate for people with disabilities, we can provide more accessible transportation options, and again, we can make sure that people with disabilities can find abundant, affordable, accessible housing, then we will have made great progress and the difference in the lives of countless people.
Yeah, well, thank you, Congressman, and again for those comments. Tina, give us the last, you got a minute. Please give us your thoughts and the type of ask that you would have of the people that are watching this program.
Well, with all of COVID going on right now, the one thing I can honestly say is everybody is getting personal insight of what the disabled community lives with on a daily basis. Not being able to get into places, not being able to go to places, being sheltered out or being knocked out. So everybody can do their part during this part. Learn something new, do some research, speak out, reach out to RAMP, reach out to your congressmen, reach out to everybody to make a difference. Now is a time when you have all of this downtime to reassess your business, reassess your way of doing things, and just don't sit there. Make a difference. Make a difference in somebody else's lives, because we are in this together, and we can truly make a difference if we all work together. Thanks,
Tina. Mike?
Yes, sir. I'd like to just say congratulations on the 30th year of the ADA. It's been a pleasure to be with the congressman, yourself, Lieutenant Governor, Tina, Bob, and others. We're just going to keep the ball rolling forward. I know that we will, because on this panel alone, we got a bunch of activists that will fight. So we're going to keep the ball rolling, and we'll keep it going.
Thanks, Mike. And Bob, and then I get the last word. I'm going to tell my personal story to say, just because people have disabilities doesn't mean that you can't have fun with them and do things with them. And I want to share a couple of things that I did with Peter, during the 25 years that he was disabled, but clearly was very productive. But Bob, please give us your last word.
Well, I think my last word is, let's also think about the next generation. One of the bad pieces with regards to COVID-19 is the kids in special education. Online learning for many of them is a disaster. So we need to find ways to be creative, to empower the next generation, because their potential is unlimited as long as we help them gain the tools to cope and be very successful.
Thanks, Bob. And I just want to just put a little personal touch on this. I mean, the things that I did with Peter after he was there, I still went to the Celtics game with him, and I still went to see John McEnroe play tennis with him. And I can remember one time I was doing a fundraiser, and I don't know if you've ever heard of a cow chip bingo, but you split up a football field, and then you have a cow come in, and they lay their deposits in a spot, and then whoever it has bought that spot wins. So I said to Peter, I need a cow. And now Peter's riding his van, and so next thing you know, he comes wheeling into our football field, and he's got a trailer in the back, and out comes a bull, and then the bull was out on the field. But I just want to say, Peter was a big deal in my life before and after his accident, before and after his disability. And my last word is, if you have someone in the family that has a disability, then give them a hug. And if you're not knowing somebody in that space, then reach out to Bob or reach out to Mike, the congressman, and Tina, and so that you can kind of have some good experiences with the people that live in the Rhode Island, and the disability community is one of those communities. I say 39 cities in town, Congressman. Every community is important, and the communities that make up those communities are important. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This was fantastic information and a lot of passion, and I look forward to continue working with you, and let us know how our office can help.
Thanks, Governor. Appreciate being on.
Oh, somebody's just talked about the red bags, Tina. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Yes, absolutely.
Take care.
Good night.
Yeah, so remarkable people telling very important stories, right? With Tina and Mike and Bob, and then our own congressman that we're very proud of, and I'm looking forward to working with him over the next several years in Congress. I gotta just tell you, his office has been remarkable with us, and when I chaired the National Lieutenant Governors Association, I asked the congressman to come, and one of his fortes is cyber security, and he actually addressed our entire National Lieutenant Governors Association, took the time and came and did that. So yeah, we need to have the congressman there for a few more years for sure. Please, thanks for joining. Contact our office if you heard something tonight that piqued your curiosity, and 222-2371. We'll be on Tuesday. We're going to have our virtual town hall for the small businesses. Secretary Stephen Pryor is going to be one of our guests and talk about the grant program. And then we'll be back here on Wednesday night too at 7 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, and stay healthy.